you're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba here on AETi Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth, Rise and Shine Manitoba, brought to you by AETi, Evolve Green, and Fabricland Winkler. I'm just going to change my layout here. There we go. Whole screen isn't cropped that way. I'm fully on screen now, but yeah, folks, this is May 11th, 2022's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. This will be my final time hosting Rise and Shine Manitoba. It's been a heck of a ride, everybody. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in every Wednesday morning with me hosting this show and just tuning into what I've had to say on my opinionated segment, Graham's Opinion, as well as what I've had to say and ask my guests that I've had on the show. It's been a fun ride, and I'm excited for today's episode. I'm only doing one interview in today's episode, and I'm going to be joined by Gordie Tumilson here coming up in the final edition of me hosting Rise and Shine Manitoba. I'm going to be speaking to Gordie Tumilson coming up just about how the past weekend of games went for the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, as well as evaluation camps that continue to go on and that are coming up for this academy. Also talking about the recruiting and marketing side of things today. I'm going to talk to Gordie about that. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun here coming up on Rise and Shine Manitoba. Stay tuned for the end of this episode, as I will be doing an edition of Graham's Opinion, talking about the problem with the reffing in the NHL playoffs so far, why you should never celebrate a victory too early. And there was another thing I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about Kurtis Luke, why he's so good in the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League, why he had such a good season. But I might be talking about something else since I don't have any film prepared to break down the game of Kurtis Luke. But we'll have to see what happens for that coming up near the end of this episode on Rise and Shine Manitoba. First off is Gordie Tumilson on this edition of Rise and Shine. And you know what that means, Manitoba. Once the intro hits, it's time to rise and shine here on Rise and Shine Manitoba on AETi Productions. It's going to be a good one. Awesome. That's great. Gordie Tumilson joining this edition of the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment on Rise and Shine Manitoba. Gordie, of course, there were some past games for the U15s this past weekend. Of course, the evaluation camps continuing here for the academy, marketing, scouting, all that good stuff. But let's get into the U15s, how they fared this past weekend in their last few games of the season.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you have a thought about the end being more important than the beginning or the middle or any other part of it, wow, we had a great ending. We played in a showcase event in Calgary, and our team went 4-0-1 and became the consolation winners in a tournament out there. That's great news for our guys. There's teams that certainly were our caliber or a little bit better or maybe a little bit worse, but we came out on top. And that's the most important thing, I guess, that we had some success at the end of the year. And not everybody's as good as Nax. Or as powerful. So we had some success, and it was good for our kids.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Even though this was a consolation play, being able to grab any sort of success at the end of the season is great for any program, especially for a U15 program. That even though they had some big moments, like getting their first win ever in the program's history, some players standing out, it really was a season of struggles in general for this team. To see them finish off with this type of success must be huge for their confidence heading into next year.
Well, yeah, the players and the parents and many people in the program put a lot of stock in winning and losing, and there's a certain amount of relativity to that, I suppose. But we're we take a look at a bigger picture. Some of us take a look at a bigger picture, and we look at the players getting better. And if you look at the end of the season, I don't know where the other teams were at, but we certainly got better in terms of playing a little bit better hockey against maybe teams that we wouldn't have beaten earlier, but we did now. And as the goalie coach, I certainly watch the goalies on not only our team but on the other teams. And I'm really pleased to say that unless, the other teams had goalies that were really not very good at the start of the year, I can tell you that our kids came a mile and a half or 100 miles and a half or 1,000, whatever gauge you want to use. Our two guys in goal really, really came a long way from the start of the season to be able to play in this one. And, being able to backstop our team and not give up very many sort of questionable goals, which is always an issue for goalies. And I looked at the other kids in goal in the other team, and there were some questionable goals and too many questionable goals for the end of the season. And so, I'm quite pleased with our program. I don't know what goes on in the other one, so I can't say. But I know what our guys did, and we looked pretty darn good in goal for the most part. And I feel really good about that. So, and I guess, the defensemen and forwards can probably take some of the same accolades, made better passes, checked better, did all kinds of things better. And so, good for us.
Yeah, no doubt to see the success that this male U15 program had at the end of the season, finishing off with a 7-1 win over WHD Red to win the consolation side of the Western Super Summit tournament that they were playing in. Evaluation camps, are we still seeing those going on with Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy here?
Yeah, we didn't have one this past weekend, but we have one coming up. It's the U15 program. Their time to have another camp, and actually our first camp for them. We didn't even have a chance to have one last year. So, we'll have a good look at a bunch of kids that I think we got somewhere around 20 kids coming out. So that's a good thing. Not sure the exact count yet, because that always seems to change last minute. So we'll kind of let that go on. But at the end of the day, we're going to have a chance to look at the up and comers. I know Kyle and Danny, our coaching staff, will be thrilled to have a chance to look at players before and have some choices to make, rather than just be saddled with the kids that that might just show up and not be able to kind of pick and choose a little bit. That's always an issue at academy hockey, because money's another expense and another issue larger than AAA is, and so we've got that. And so having some choices is a big deal for our guys, and we're going to have a good look see today, and then we have a couple of months to kind of finalize the rosters.
Yeah, that'll be great for the U15 program to get some looks at some kids that they could potentially bring in and recruit. In terms of that, just having more choices, how huge is that? Just like you said, they didn't really have that choice last year of choosing exactly the way they wanted to, like this year, in terms of bringing in new talent for the U15s.
Well, when you get 20, first of all, we love the commitment of the 20 kids we had, and that was very important. Thanks to the parents and to all the people that sort of helped us get to that stage. However, sometimes you end up with players that don't fit for some reason, and usually it's because they don't have the talent to not necessarily play at the moment, but grow in the program. You're looking for players that need to grow, and some players just don't have that ability. And everybody's not a AAA hockey player. And so when they come to any program, you're looking for them to get better. And unfortunately, too many players that some when you don't have choices that aren't pushed, that just sort of show up. Then they they don't care as much, they don't try as hard, they don't use the extra ice time that they're given. It just doesn't work. And so then there's attitude issues. Man, it's a mountain of stuff. So having choices at the start of the year puts everybody on call and makes the coaches be better at selecting, makes us do a better job of vetting the players at school and their families. All that good stuff. And then, of course, there's other issues, but it's a really neat deal to have choices. You rather have choices than not, because if I make a mistake, I make the mistake. But if somebody else does, or we don't have chances to do that, boy, that's very frustrating.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, choices will what be the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy has at the U15 level at least. Let's move over to PMHA expansion, Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy expansion, of course, adding another team coming up this year into next year for the male U18 program. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the dorm process, how that's been going along since the last time that we've talked.
Well, there's certainly it's moving forward in a hurried way. I can tell you that the guys working out there are just pounding away. Tammy Collins, who's acting as the the general contractor, and of course he's the owner, a major owner of the hockey team, and the guy who's put his farm up and mortgaged the whole deal. On this $2.5 million project. And that number is growing, by the way, because prices, as everybody knows, gone up and everything. Yep. And so what was $2 million initially when they got this thing started is now probably closer to $3 million when you finish it off in the fall. But anyway, it's coming. They're working on the inside. The outside is done. And it's a mad scramble to get the inside finish. There are going to be 40 rooms inside, 40 player rooms inside, plus the offices and study areas and all kinds of kitchen and lounge areas, all kinds of those kinds of things will be in place come the end of August. And then we'll use the other 40 rooms that we still have in the temporary dorms. They'll be used for 2 of the teams until we can get the second 40 completed in the permanent facility.
Yeah, and that's just so exciting to know that the outside is done. It's just the inside needs to be finished up. And yeah, with the snow melting, with it being sunnier out now, with it feeling more like spring, it's looking like the weather won't exactly be getting in the way anytime soon. You'd have to hope, anyways. But talking about the scouting process, how that's been going along. Of course, there's been the evaluation camps, but outside of that, how the scouting process is rolling along for all teams in the academy.
Well, we keep getting names, we keep getting videos, we keep getting interest. ASTV did a great job for us this past weekend in Seven Chiefs Arena in Calgary by promoting our program throughout the tournament on the big center ice jumbotron type of a thing. I have to thank Glenn and the crew out there for doing that for us. It was great. Those kinds of things. Our scouts are continuing to find people and get, finding out that, I guess right now, of course, it's a scramble for every player who wants to look at other options. And so some of our players have looked at other options, and we've got literally thousands of hockey players looking at other options, and we're part of that group. And that was the hard part for the marketing side, is to get our name out there. And make sure people are giving us a look-see. Once they get a look-see and they have a talk with us, they feel better about who we are and what we are than not knowing, of course. And we're a nice option. We're not an overly expensive option either. Amazingly enough, we happen to be one of the more frugal organizations in terms of what it costs a family to join us. And the other thing that we're doing, of course, is we've hooked up with some of the family advisors that have become prevalent in hockey these last little while. So we've hooked up with a couple of key guys, and in Western Canada, and we've got a couple of others in Quebec and in the States. And these folks are starting to, sort of sort out players as they're looking for places. They've got a number of good players that are available, that are looking. Now we're part of that stream, and boy, that's making a difference. We've already had 20 names that we wouldn't have had otherwise, I don't think, had we not gone out and got those guys involved. And of course, a family advisor is somebody who's positive about or gives the family good information, and we think we're part of the good information package. So we're pleased with those kinds of results already.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And one interesting thing you brought up was in terms of the price. You talked about how it was fruitful, not as expensive as other places to play. You know, with that being a factor for some people, with the money being maybe an issue for some people that still want a high level of hockey development for their kid, and that their kid may want. How huge is that truly to have that type of price that you guys offer compared to the other schools that maybe offering more than you guys do to play?
Well, it's huge for everybody. I mean, the less you pay for something that's equally as good or better, which we think we are equally as good, of course, and better, and we think we care as much or more than anybody does about the player and their development. So, when we come in with a price that's a little bit better, of course, there's two sides of that coin. People say, well, how come you're so low? Or you're lower than this guy. Well, we don't fly a lot of places, and so that's a number that comes out of there. And there's some other things that we don't do, but we think those are things like having a Starbucks coffee versus making your own coffee at home. Do you need a Starbucks coffee? Well, maybe you do, but it's $9. We don't, as a person. We don't, as a group, we don't feel like we need to be spending, money willy-nilly. And so we don't charge as much. And so, we're a nose to the grindstone, farm community mentality a little bit, and that's not a bad thing. And so we look at frugality as being very important, not spending people's money without good cause. And the kids get the same experience, basically, or a slightly different experience. But, it's not something that's where they've got their nose in the air when they come out of our place. They know how to work, and they know what is important. And that we think is better. And that's why we can keep the price down just a little bit.
Right. And a good advantage for you guys in that, being able to do that and making it, that much more appealing to come down to Pilot-Mound to play for Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy. Of course, if you guys want to learn more about Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, we talk about it every single Wednesday on this segment on Rise and Shine Manitoba. But if you want to find out the info for yourself of, the schedule, the games that are happening, the stats that these players put up, the news surrounding Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, be sure to visit their website, scrolling down below on the bottom of your screen at pilotmoundhockeyacademy.com. But Gordie, this is our last ever edition of the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment, with me being the host of Rise and Shine Manitoba. It's been a heck of a ride talking with you here, Gordie. Always great to have you on the show and hear about what you have to say about Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, and for yourself, not only yourself, but everyone involved with Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy. I want to wish you guys the best of luck and the most success heading into the 2022-2023 season.
Well, the feeling's the same, Graeme. I'm an old guy watching young people grow in whatever they're doing, whether it be hockey, play-by-play, doing all those kind of things. And as I said before the show started to you, I'm really proud of what you've done over the couple 3 years that we've known each other. You've gone from a nervous little guy to a seasoned veteran sort of a thing. So, and good for you. You've come a long way. We enjoy your play-by-play when you come out. You've got the interviews down to a pretty good science. I am really impressed with your depth of of information that you have, that your research that you've done. Those are all really good things, and you've learned all that stuff, at ASTV, and from some of us grumpy old people that may have said something wise to you somewhere along the way. So, good luck to you. Please keep me on your list of people that would love to help you out if we can along the way. And good luck to you and in your future endeavors. I look forward to seeing you back on the screen somewhere.
Well, I appreciate it, Gordie. The words you're saying that you just said mean a lot to me. Until we meet again in the future, Mr. Tumilson, you take care and take it easy.
Thanks, Graeme. Good stuff, man.
And Gordie Tumilson, for one final time, joining Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions on Manitoba Show. I'm going to fix my chain here. Also, I'm going to turn off this heater I got running. That's what's on in the background right now. If you are hearing some background noise you might not be used to. But, yeah, hoping Gordie Tumilson, along with Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, the best of luck coming up in the 2022-2023 season. I won't be covering them, of course, since I won't be with ASTV. But, yeah, I want to wish those good folks over at Pilot-Mound all the best heading forward, not only into this upcoming season, but for the seasons coming up in the future here. But it's time now for one last edition of Graeme's Opinion here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. Coming up after the commercial break, I'll be giving my opinion on a variety of things. So stay tuned for that here on Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Gordie Tumilson joined me on Rise and Shine Manitoba. First off, he will be the only guest in today's episode. Sorry, folks, just having some indigestion. I don't know why I always have it. I don't know. Maybe I should be eating better. I haven't had anything to eat today. I'll have to fix the hair too because the hair is a bit messy, but we'll leave it. Yeah, Gordie Tumilson. I had a chance to talk to him here on Rise and Shine Manitoba first off today, and yeah, if you guys want to check back and watch that interview I did with Gordie Tumilson, if you are on our new media player on our website, amateursports.tv, you have the capability now to rewind our broadcasts during the live broadcasting of them. So as this is live, you can rewind and go back and watch the interview I did with Gordie Tumilson if you want on this week's edition of the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment here on Rise and Shine Manitoba's show. All right, it is time now to get into Graeme's opinion for this week. And I'll actually be talking about 4 things instead of 3 things as I listed in the description of this episode. But I want to start off with saying this. I'm the type of guy to lose his wallet, to lose his bank card. I'm scattered in that sense, and I've lost a lot of wallets in my lifetime. Lost a lot of bank cards as well, and it sucks. And you know what? With that being said, I think that seriously there should be someone considering putting a chip in to track your bank card, kind of like Find My iPhone. I think that would be so cool, and it would cause less of a hassle, in my opinion, instead of just ordering a new card every time, which you can, but you have to go through the whole security process of answering security questions, and it's time consuming. I think if there was a chip that could act as a tracker in a bank card, if you lose it, well, you can check it out on your phone with an app you have to use it to track where your bank card may be, and then boom, you track it, you track it down, and then you can find it. And obviously there could be some issues with making this in terms of what type of technology they could use, but I think it would be a wonderful idea just for someone like me who ends up losing his valuables. Would definitely like to have a tracker on my bank card, so I don't just have to cancel it every time I lose it. I could actually track it down. But you know what would be a better solution? Me just not losing my bank card and my wallet. I think that'd probably work out best for me if I didn't do that moving forward. But it's just the way it is. I tend to lose a lot of things, and my wallet and bank card being one of them. But I actually lost my bank card last night. Thank goodness I left it in my buddy's car, so I'm gonna be able to pick that up at some point today. But yeah, moving into Kurtis Luke, and I don't have any film to showcase this guy's game here today, but this is the playoff MVP of the MMJHL playoffs this season. Was a part of the St. James Junior Canucks team who was stacked from top to bottom. But Kurtis Luke was definitely the standout as the best player on this team this season. And that says a lot, just considering how many good players are on this, the St. James Junior Canucks team. When you're taking a look at guys like a rookie like Tyrone Willen, who finished top 4 in points, Rory Neal, who finished with the most points out of any defenseman and was top 5 in points this season. If you're looking at Ashton Romanek, Cale Price, who led the whole MMJHL in goals in the playoffs, 30 goal scoring Griffin Height in the regular season. I mean, the list goes on and on of how stacked and how dangerous this team is. But for Kurtis Luke, a guy who put up 38 goals, 46 assists for 84 points in 40 games played, not even playing a full season, which is 45 games played, to his playoffs where he had 10 goals, 22 assists for 32 points in 14 playoff games. This is a big offensive contributor for the St. James Junior Canucks. Of course, he is a 2000 born player, so this is his last year of eligibility playing in this league. But for Kurtis Luke, I mean, looking at his playmaking ability, sees the ice so well. Sure, he has very good line mates that get into good position for him to feed that puck to them, but Kurtis Luke does so much with his vision to be able to see the ice, and just his ability to locate his teammates and dish them the puck at a high level is an impressive thing to be seen, and a player that does it almost better than anyone in the league. And in terms of goal scoring ability, in the regular season, he ended up having 38 goals, which was second in the league for goals. He had 10 in the postseason, which I'm not sure where that would rank. take a look at that right now. But his goal scoring ability, I mean, not only can Kurtis Luke dish the puck out, which he did 22 times in the playoffs and led all players in assists, but he can also put up goals as well, which he finished second in the playoffs in goals. And it's the release, the accuracy that Kurtis Luke has, and just his ability to score from many different angles that makes him that much better of a shooter, right? This is a guy who averaged the most points in the regular season, even though he didn't finish with the most points in the league per game. He finished with the most points per game in the postseason as well. His offensive game is there in terms of his goal scoring ability and his ability to feed that puck to his teammates. But it's also his positioning out there, always in good position, always in the position that's going to give him the best opportunity to succeed on the ice and help his team out. And as well as, sorry, I'm just getting a phone call from the landline. That's why the ringing is there. But yeah, for Kurtis Luke, just wait for this to continue ringing here, folks. 1 second. Okay, but as I was saying, yes. So not only does Luke have the goal scoring ability, the playmaking ability, but he's in the right position almost all the time, more times than not, if that. And he's a responsible player in his own end. So when you're able to have that all around game paired with the offensive ability that Kurtis Luke has, shooting the puck and dishing it out, his positioning and just his ability to play both ways on the puck. Maybe struggling on the draws just a bit in the finals, but those are also things he improved on as that series went along against Pembina Valley. Kurtis Luke, there's a reason why he ended up winning playoff MVP. I think that was the only right decision, to be honest, with just the points he put up. And I mean, second in the regular season in points and most points per game on average this season. So yeah, Kurtis Luke, the reason why he was so good this year in the MMJHL. Moving on now to the NHL playoffs, and oh boy, not talking about the games that have happened, but the reffing that has happened. The reffing in these NHL playoffs have been atrocious. They have not been very good. It just comes down to consistency, because okay, maybe the game is changing at this point where you're not calling just the blatant penalties in the playoffs anymore, right? You're not having the whistles in your pocket. You're not putting them away. And you're calling more penalties than I can remember, at least. It almost feels like regular season hockey out there because of how many playoffs have been called during the playoffs. But there's some stuff that happens, calls that happen that are so weak out there. And there are other calls that look so blatant, like someone getting stick to the face, but then there's no call. And usually that is a call, but sometimes it hasn't been a call in these playoffs. And that is just unacceptable, honestly. And, referees, respect to referees throughout the world, right? In the sport of hockey. What they do for the game allows hockey players to be able to play the game that they love. It's no different in the NHL. But at the same time, NHL players are going to be held to high standards. If they are unable to perform, they get criticized for that. So why should referees get a pass and be any different? I think that obviously don't criticize them disrespectfully, but I think that the refs deserve criticism during these playoffs for just the inconsistencies and just the calls that have been being made. And maybe, hey, they're getting word from the league that, we want to see more power plays. Still let some stuff go, but we want to see a lot more power plays, a lot more special teams, which could be the case. But at the same time, obviously, if the penalty is blatant, if it's obvious, call it. But in the playoffs, things tighten up. In the playoffs, things get a bit more chippier. And I feel like there's some penalties that you could call in the regular season that you can't call in the playoffs, because playoff hockey is just a different beast. And I know that people might disagree with that. saying that, hey, if there's penalties, no matter how weak they may be, if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. I understand that, but at the same time, it's playoff hockey. I think that there should be a lot less of a emphasis on calling every single penalty that could be taken out there. I think that it should be more so a focus on just calling the more blatant stuff, right? I mean, if there's blatantly a dirty hit, obviously you should get called. But the thing is, Ryan Lindgren had a dirty hit on Rickard Rakell in Game 1 of the New York and Pittsburgh Penguins series, the New York Rangers and Penguins series, and I don't even think there was a call. So it's just the inconsistencies like that that I haven't been a fan of. And yeah, like I said, I think in playoffs, if it's blatant, you should call it. But if it's not as blatant, let these guys play. They're big boys. They can handle themselves. And I'm sure that they'd rather be playing 5-on-5 than being down a man or two as well. So, yeah, there you have it. The problem with the NHL reffing, in my opinion. And, yeah, during these playoffs. Want to dive into this, and I've seen this throughout the past 2 years, and I think these playoffs are kind of reiterating this point, reinforcing it. So remember in the playoffs last year, I don't know if you were watching, if you're watching this and you're hearing me talk about this. I don't know if you were watching the playoffs last year, but it was the Colorado Avalanche facing off against the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round. Not in the first round, the first game of the second round. Winner would go to the Final Four to come out of the division last year, because that's just the way it was. And Colorado and Vegas happened to be in the same division. They were placed in the same division. So, Colorado ends up going up 1-0 in that series with a huge win, 7-1 or something like that. It was a blowout. And I remember hearing everybody saying, oh, it's over. Vegas is done. All this stuff, because Vegas is who Colorado was matching up against. Well, Colorado, they did blow them out, in that first game. In the second game, it got closer. It went to OT. Colorado was able to win. They dropped 4 straight after. They dropped 4 straight after that game to lose. And I think it just proves a point there that, and that's not the only series where this has happened in the past. There's been teams that have blown 3-0 leads, even though it's rare to see it happen. But there's also been teams who have blown 3-1 leads, like the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, what if I told you that, with that being said, one game in the playoffs doesn't mean anything because of what I said? Because, sure, looking back at Colorado, they played an excellent Game 1 in that series last year, a pretty solid Game 2, but weren't able to keep it up for a full 7-game series. The Toronto Maple Leafs, after 4 games last season, up 3-1, blew the lead against Montreal. A prime example yesterday in terms of just don't celebrate a victory too early. Tampa Bay, up 2-0 against the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 5 last night. What happened? They give up 3 unanswered. They tie it up, but then Austin Matthews at the end of the game, near the end of the game in the third period, in the clutch moments, ends up putting in a goal, and they complete the comeback against Tampa. Also want to mention that Tampa, I believe, in their Game 1 of the year, they got swept against Columbus in the first round, also blew a lead when they were up. The Nashville Predators, I mean, this isn't playoffs. They blew a 4-goal lead and ended up losing against the Arizona Coyotes, not to make it in the playoff spot that they wanted to. I'm sure they didn't want to match up against Colorado, but in playoff time. And you should never celebrate a win too early. And you should never celebrate one win of a series and act like you're going to win the cup if your team's going to win the cup in terms of talking about hockey. Because at the end of the day, it's a 7-game series. You don't win a 7-game series in the NHL by only winning 1 game. Like for the Toronto Maple Leafs, you probably thought that this team, just looking at how they played, maybe you thought that they were going to dominate the Lightning and beat them in 4 or 5. They won 5-0 in their first game, lost the next game 5-3. It's just the way it goes in the NHL playoffs. Teams can blow teams out any score they want, but it's about what can you do next. And I'm sure the players don't, but for the fans out there, please, if your team goes up 1-0 in a series, great. But don't act like you've won the series or anything like that. And I know so many people do, and they say it's over. I mean, man, I was reading some comments after St. Louis won. Everyone was like, give them the cup. Sure, those are just trolls, but everyone in the chat was saying that, and I just couldn't believe it. How can you say that after one game? And that's the thing. You cannot say anything after one game. You just can't. And one win, or, no matter how many wins you have, you should never truly be satisfied until your team wins 4 games, to be honest, just talking about the playoffs. So, yeah, that's why I think you should never celebrate a win too early, because you never know what can happen in a 7-game series in the NHL. You never know what could happen in a game. Your team could blow it. And it's just kind of cocky at the same time, doing that. But, yeah. That's my opinion today on Graeme's opinion. And that is the last time I'll ever be giving my opinion here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. If you like today's edition of Graeme's opinion here on Manitoba Show, be sure to leave a like if you're watching on YouTube or wherever you may be watching on Facebook. Sure to leave a reaction as well if you're watching on Facebook. You don't have to leave a like. Maybe you want to leave something else. And also leave a comment down below and share this so we can get the word out about our content here on ASTV Productions. I am going to be heading to one last commercial break here in today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Coming up after the commercial break, some final words for one final time here on Manitoba Show. Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV.
Hello, my name is Loretta Mitchell, owner of Evolve Green. And here at Evolve Green, we take the environment very seriously. We have a 10 kilowatt solar system that offsets our main facility by 75%, as well as maintaining natural prairie on our grounds. Our mission, creating renewables that work for you. I started Evolve Green in 2008 with a passion for the environment and wanting to change my corner of the world. And that remains the same today. Through design, consult, and installation, we provide renewable energy systems and storage integration. Here at Evolve Green, we help Canadians rethink power and storage to help fortify our children's future. To learn more, visit evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba. Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba, everybody. There we go. I found my speech, man. It's it was tough getting up this morning, I gotta say. Had a late night, had some fun, got to see some friends, and celebrated a big day as it was my birthday yesterday, which was tons of fun. And speaking of that, want to thank everyone for donating to my GoFundMe page, my GoFundMe fundraiser, for mental health awareness in terms of raising money for the Canadian Mental Health Association. Looking at the final total amount here of what was raised. Take a look here at Graeme's Mental Health Fundraiser. $287 raised in total for the Canadian Mental Health Association. Now, I didn't come anywhere near the goal that I set out for myself, which was $1,000 raised by yesterday, May 10th. But hey, this was my first fundraiser. I probably should have promoted it better, not just on these shows, but on my social media as well. But hey, it's a lesson, learning from it, hoping to raise some more money next time. But just outstanding to see any type of money raised for mental health. Going to the Canadian Mental Health Association, $287 at that. I can't thank everyone enough for anyone who donated. If you are watching and you donated, so much respect, and just so grateful that you chose to do that. And if you shared it as well, the feeling's the same there as well, in terms of just blessed in general, just to see any money raised for the Canadian Mental Health Association. Of course, you can't donate anymore. It is closed, but thank you to everyone who participated, and not participated, but to everyone who donated and shared Graeme's mental health fundraiser on GoFundMe.com. I want to thank Gordie Tumilson for taking the time out of his Wednesday morning and joining Rise and Shine Manitoba today. I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in as well as to the sponsors of Rise and Shine Manitoba and AETi, Evolve Green, and Fabricland Winkler for sponsoring another edition of the show. Folks, for the final time ever, as I've already said throughout this episode, this is my final time hosting Rise and Shine Manitoba. For all viewers who watch this show and have tuned in every Wednesday morning to listen to me talk about sports here in Manitoba and anything else I've talked about here on the show, want to thank you truly for taking the time out of your Wednesday morning every week and watching this. And if you didn't watch it on Wednesday, just taking your time in general out of your day to watch the newest edition week by week of Rise and Shine Manitoba. It's been a heck of a ride hosting this, getting to talk to so many people. I guess I want to thank some people for sure that have been guests on the show, of course, with Gordie Tumilson for making that commitment, for coming on the show here every Wednesday morning and talking about Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, to the guests that I used to have on but didn't anymore. I mean, Harry Siemens on the Farm Report for helping me out and always giving me pointers and giving me his expertise of just his experiences in this industry, to Lorena Mitchell for always updating us when she did come on the show on just the latest news in solar, to Bill Johnson, president or executive director of Football Manitoba, to Adam Wedlake, executive director of Basketball Manitoba, and Scott Dixon, executive director of the Winnipeg Youth Soccer Association, to Aaron Giesbrick, the man who runs Big Air Academy, to Carson Banks, who came on the show last week as well, to just, I mean, I'm sure I'm missing so many names, but to everyone who has come on Rise and Shine Manitoba and made it as special as it has been throughout my time talking about sports here for the amateur sports scene on Rise and Shine in Manitoba, and just anything else to do with this province. Yeah, it's been an unforgettable experience that I will never forget. And I can't thank, not only the guests enough, the people I've had on my show here on Rise and Shine, but to the sponsors in AETi, Evolve Green, and not Case Financial Group, but Fabricland Winkler, and also just to you, the viewer who tuned in. All of those factors, all of those things playing a part in terms of why we at ASTV can do what we do for our creators here. And yeah, what's next for me? Well, you guys will be seeing me in the industry soon, just not on ASTV Productions. So don't worry if you're going to miss my pretty face. But yeah, I guess there's not much else to say, folks. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure being the voice of Manitoba show, Rise and Shine Manitoba, here on ASTV Productions. But folks, until I see y'all again in the future at some point, maybe down the road we meet again. But until then, I've been your host of Rise and Shine Manitoba, Graeme Forsyth. Want to tell you guys that tomorrow I have a show coming out, Coffee with Graeme, the last ever edition of that show at 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time tomorrow. Check it out on our network. On Facebook at ASTV Productions, Twitter at Amateur Sports TV, as well as on our website at amateursports.tv or astvproductions.com. The guest list for that is also coming out on social media tomorrow morning on Instagram at ASTV Productions, Facebook, and Twitter as well. But as I was saying, folks, I'll say it. I'll start up by saying it again. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure being your voice of Manitoba's show, Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. For myself, Graeme Forsyth, I'm now giving you the salute and the peace out, the peace symbol, the peace sign for the final time here on Manitoba Show. Rise and Shine Manitoba. Till I see you all again in the future, folks. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday morning today. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Have a wonderful rest of your week and a great weekend at that as well. Stay safe out there and enjoy the nice weather if it's nice where you are. And until another time, folks, I've been your host, Graeme Forsyth, officially saying goodbye.